Hi, welcome back to Books and Bocadillos. My name is Maria Andrea. I've tried to do this tag video so many times. I feel a little loopy. I am doing this tag called the Windows and Mirrors Reading Tag. And this tag was created by my friend Pat at the channel Book Chat with Pat. And she tagged me last Tuesday when she posted this tag. Thank you, Pat, for tagging me. This is a really fun tag. It's basically asking you to share books that function either as mirrors or windows in your reading life. And so, prompt number 1, here we go again, is name a few books that serve as mirrors in a meaningful way, mirrors to some aspect of your life experience. So the first book that I want to talk about is a bit of a recency bias because it is the current pick for the Books and Bocadillos book club that I host, and it is the book How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accent by Julia Alvarez. Okay, I'm going to try to keep my thoughts very succinct. This is the mirror because when I first read this book, I was in my 20s, and I am of the generation that when I grew up, when I came of age in school in the United States, our reading curriculums did not include books by Hispanic or Latina authors. So I wasn't familiar with any authors really. Most of my reading was what I was told I needed to read in school to be well read. Most of the things I read were written by white American, Black American, or British authors. So I didn't have a cultural reference for the contemporary writers of the time until I went to college and I came across Julia Alvarez. So this book functions as a mirror because this book makes me laugh out loud. There, I could see myself in the stories of the Garcia girls, the immigrant experience, the expectation to assimilate and acculturate and try to fit in, and then all the while feeling like you never really do, and just trying to belong, and all the while still feeling like you don't. So this book has always, well, when I read it, it served as a mirror, and it's still more than 20 something years later, still does resonate with me and still serves as a mirror to my own immigrant experience. Next, I have Island of the Blue Dolphins. I don't have this book in my collection, but I remember that when I was a child, I loved Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell. And oftentimes, the experiences of Native Americans, Indigenous, First Nations people, these stories were the stories that most resonated with me, that I felt seen in because I felt like I looked like the people on the pages, on the book covers. Like it was these stories that felt like, oh, there's someone that looks like me. And so those were the stories that I tended to really want to read and spend time with. So Scott Odell's Island of the Blue Dolphins was a mirror to my role as a sister. In Island of the Blue Dolphins, the protagonist has a younger brother, and I had a younger brother. And as an immigrant in the United States, as a child immigrant in the United States, sometimes you felt like you were out in the wild. And as especially a newly arrived immigrant, and you're still kind of like building your language skills, and sometimes the world felt like being out in the wild, and sometimes the world felt like it was for this sister and brother, and well, since since my brother was born, since my brother came into this world, he's probably been the most important relationship I had until I got married. So I felt this protective nature towards him, and much like the protagonist in Island of the Blue Dolphins, I could resonate with that. And so that love for a younger brother was a mirror, and is probably one of the biggest reasons why I love that book, was because I felt like I could understand that love for a younger brother and that need to protect in the wild. So that book served as a mirror to me. Next, I have My Antonia. This is not the copy I had in high school, but this is my newer copy. My Antonia by Willa Cather. I read this in high school, and Antonia is an immigrant. She's a Bohemian immigrant in the middle of the United States. I think Kansas. In the plains. They're in the plains in the United States. I think it's Kansas, but I'm not 100%. So, Nebraska. There you go. So, this book takes place in Nebraska. And I had not visited Nebraska when I read this book in high school, but I was an immigrant. As an immigrant, I could relate to some of the passages in here, particularly when it comes to trying to connect with community. And there were some passages in here that really gave me hope and made me feel like I could do this. You know, I could do this. I could connect with neighbors and people who were different from me, and maybe there was such a thing as an American dream that, like, Antonia could look forward to. And then at the end of the novel, you kind of consider, like, is that what life is? Is that what the American dream is? Is that it? So I think that all those questions of what am I here for? What is my life trajectory going to look like? And as a young reader in high school, like, thinking, okay, what is my life trajectory going to look like? And is that it? Or can I do this? Can I manage the relationships? So I think this was a big mirror to me as a young adult. Next, I have a book I love and I've talked about so many times, and I took forever trying to record this because I could not find this book and I still don't know where I left it. It is Martita, I Remember You by Sandra Cisneros. This book I read in the last couple of years, and I've loved it, and I've talked about it so many times, and I'm still looking at my stacks of books, like, where is it? Martita, I Remember You reminds me of the friendships of my young adulthood, like the people I met in my 20s, particularly the friends that I made when I was living in England, and how I miss them so much, and how you lose touch with people you really, really love and build bonds with. And so that's what the book is. It's about friendship and the friendships that carry you, and the friendships you never forget, even across miles and distance and time and space and everything. Next, I have, I didn't bring it, but it's a short story. I'm probably going to talk about this book soon anyway. But the short story 11 by Sandra Cisneros. It is published in the collection Woman Hollering Creek by Sandra Cisneros. It's on my shelf and I didn't bring it. But anyway, I read the short story 11 for the first time when I was in the 7th grade, and it was in a textbook. And now that I'm thinking, like, that was probably the one piece of literature that I read in school that was by a Hispanic author. Um, and so, yeah, because we didn't even have the house on Mango Street at the time. That's how old I am. So 11 was in that book, 7th grade textbook, and I remember reading it and really, really loving it. And like I said, it was probably the first time that I came across a story like that, and I really was. Um, it served as a mirror. I could see myself in that classroom. It really was a mirror to me. Then I have Pedro Paramo. I read Pedro Paramo more recently. Um, have, this is the English version, and this is the translated version, and this is the original Spanish version. I think the history in Pedro Paramo serves as a mirror to me. Also, the protagonist is looking for um, the father he never knew. And so there's this man who grows up without a father. And I grew up without my dad around for most of my life because my parents divorced when I was a child. And so at the beginning of the story, when um, our protagonist is setting off to Comala to find his father, called Pedro Paramo, um, that feeling of like being going on a search, going on a walk, looking for this man that is your father that you haven't seen or known about forever. I did know my dad, but I did feel like there was a time when we grew very distant. And I think that when I read this book, I just kept thinking about that relationship and what it's like to grow up with an absent father figure. And I also really saw myself in this one, Bite, Bite, Bite by Aime Nezuka Matatil. I read this recently with my In Real Life book club at my local indie, and I really felt a connection to the author in the sense that I'm also a foodie. I love food, as my channel name is Books and Bocadillos, and this is like a memoir of sorts in which the author highlights different foods that have been meaningful in different chapters of her life, and I really resonated with that. And there were some foods in here that I was like, yes, me too. That food was really important for me. Like, yeah, like a strawberry. That would be a food that I think I would. The blackberry. That is also a meaningful one to me. So some of these, which she talks about experiences like fig, I have vivid memories of. Like I could tie this to vivid memories. Cinnamon, even though we are different, like the author is Filipino, but I think Filipino and Mexican cuisines are kind of similar. Mint, all of these, like I have um, notions of, like personal anecdotes and short stories, um, like in my like experiences that I could relate to. Um, so this one was a mirror. Um, The Last Cuentista. So this is very similar to what I said about The Island of the Blue Dolphins. In this book, The Last Cuentista, the protagonist also has a younger brother, and she also has this instinct, innate like need to protect her brother, and that sibling relationship really spoke to me and was a mirror to me, um, because what wouldn't you do for your brother? It's just kind of one of those things that I feel like I really can resonate with. And Death Comes for the Archbishop. I buddy read this with Melinda at a Web of Stories. Also, the history in here, kind of like Pedro Paramo, this book is set in a time time of westward expansion, the conquest, and I think Willa Cather did a really fair portrayal of Mexicans. And so to see myself in a book written by an author that I really love, I love Willa Cather, like I mentioned, I love Maya Antonia, and that was my first experience with Willa Cather. To see myself in these pages, see my ancestors potentially in these pages, I think it was really important, and it's really important for people to see themselves in books. And I just want to say that I feel like not all, but sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes people, some people, sometimes who ban books have never experienced what it's like to not find yourself reflected in the books that are surrounding you. When you've experienced that lacking, that there's nothing on the pages, there's no book in your library, or very few books in your library that reflect your lived experiences, and it feels like a deprivation of sorts. And I feel like as an adult, I have been able to reconnect with culture and history through my reading, and that's why Willa Cather fairly depicting, I think it's fair. It's not, it's neither good nor bad. It's just a fair characterization of the time, the history, the Mexican people in the southwest of the United States, um, as it was just becoming the United States, I think. Yeah, it's New Mexico. So very early on in the Southwest becoming part of the United States. I think, well, 1848. In 1848, following the United States acquisition of the American Southwest from Mexico, the young bishop, Father Jean-Marie Latour, receives instruction from the Vatican to oversee a newly created diocese in New Mexico. So yeah, that's the time period, and I really enjoyed seeing some of the history in this book that connects with my history. And Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. This is a book that I read and reread, and lately, since I was grieving, I have found myself connecting with this book, and this book really speaking to me and being a mirror to love of a sweet pet. So that was a mirror to me very recently. Now, prompt number 2 is name some booktubers, some booktube channels who are mirrors for you. So I went all out, I think, in just trying to talk about a lot of people in terms of shout outs. But if I missed you, I am so sorry. I was trying to just think fast and just quickly, and I know that I am missing people, and for that, I am sorry. Okay, so the first person that came to mind as a book to mirror, and it's funny because this person is not at all like a mirror, but they are. Okay, so the first person that came to mind was Brian at Bookish Texan. So Brian and I both live in Texas. We don't share culture. I don't know about a religion, and we don't share the same gender, but we share some political ideals, some social justice ideals, some views on a just society. And Oftentimes, when Brian speaks, he says things that I sometimes feel like I cannot say. So, lately, especially when Brian talks about things that maybe are adjacent to politics or are flat out political, and he says things, he speaks his mind, and I'm grateful for him and for his mind and for his speech, because I don't feel like I have that same freedom to say the things aloud that he says. So sometimes his words mirror what my thoughts might be at the time. And so I keep telling him in the comments that I'm very grateful for his voice, because um, it is a privilege to have a voice that you can use. And I don't always feel like I have that same degree of privilege. So thank you, Brian, for that. Next, Sui, Sui's book banter. Sui has become a very recent mayor. I need some Jamaica, agua fresca. Okay, so Sui is my mayor in my love for YA. I think I came to BookTube feeling like, okay, it's crazy that I'm a 40-something-year-old who still loves to read young adult literature. And Sui has mirrored that love right back to me. And to be older women still loving the YA angsty stories, I just find that like very comforting, and she's been a great mirror, and we've been able to do Yagas together this year, and that was a lot of fun. So Sui's been a mirror towards, or mirror of, my love for young adult literature, and I'm so grateful for her too. Kat at the channel Curious Cat, she's like my sister now, and so she's a mirror because she reflects, sometimes she reflects my emotions, sometimes I think she sees me for who I am, and I feel safe and I feel loved by my friend and my booktube sister Kat. Sometimes I feel like she sees something in me that very few people see, and so I don't want to cry, but I feel that way with Kat, and so she's a mirror. Sometimes I say things kind of off the cuff, like, and she'll catch it and she'll reflect it back to me, and it makes me get all teary and all in the feels, because I think it's amazing that someone can see the humanity in you across oceans and space and time, and still see you as a like human, and see you as like authentically who you are. And I don't think very many people do, and I think it's a gift, and maybe it's some sort of special connection that she and I have, where she can see me, and I hope that I can be that for her too. But I find that oftentimes she's just has this really good ability to see something in me that I maybe am trying to like hold and protect, and she'll like name it for me. So I think that is really special. So she is a special mirror and friend. Okay, I didn't expect that. Thank you, Kat. Sorry. Next, Crystal from the channel Fiber Artsy. Crystal is a mirror because she reflects all of just the fun, zany, weird vibes that I love so much. And gosh, if I could ever imagine it or like dream it, she does it. And she reads very broadly like I do. And so From Crystal, I might in her videos find like she says something that her son really loves, and then I end up going and checking that book up in the library or buying it for my nephews, and or just adding it to my own collection because it sounds wonderful. And she's just so fun, and she is eclectic, and she just, like, I love, for example, when she participates in, like, it's been a while, but like I think sometimes for like Garbagist, she'll do like a really fun like Garbagist treat. So like that's also feeds into my like books and book buddy. Like I love food, and so sometimes she'll make a like a treat or something that matches the event that she's participating in, and I love that. That really like is a mirror to my interest in like food and connecting my reading to food. And I've also gotten some great book recs. I think she's a mirror to like the kinds of books that I enjoy too. So I almost always feel like if Crystal likes it, I think I'm gonna really like it too. I think we've read a couple of books together for like reading events, and we kind of tend to land in the same spot in terms of our our interpretation or our enjoyment of what we read. And um, yeah, so yeah, I find like Crystal just reflects all of the fun, zany, uh, imaginative, creative vibes that I really love. And next, Melinda, A Web of Stories. So Melinda is probably the friend on BookTube that I read the most with. So she and I, on the regular, are reading something together. Not every month, but pretty regularly. Every other month for sure, because I am part of her book club, and every other month we're reading a book together. And sometimes every other month we're reading a couple of things together. So yeah, Melinda at A Web of Stories, she mirrors she's also reading widely. She loves, like, she's doing the William Shakespeare Project, and sometimes that intersects with my reading interests, and so sometimes I participate in the Bard Room with her and the others. She also just mirrors that free spirit of like authenticity and just like be yourself, and I just love that. I love just her fun, here I am, this is me. Um, she's just so fun and authentic, and just I love feeling like she reflects friendship to me. And so when I connect with Melinda, I feel like I am with a friend, even though we've never met in real life. But I always feel like she reflects just this love and authentic kind of friendship. So I don't know. Melinda's one of those people that I think that if I ever got the chance to meet in real life, she would be like exactly who she is in the videos, and it's like instantaneously friendly and connected. So she reflects just really authentic kind of love and friendship. Pat, from the channel Book Chat with Pat. Pat is a mirror in the sense that we both love poetry, so we share a love for a lot of the same type of poetry. Usually when Pat talks about poetry, she either reads poetry that I love, or really the poetry that she shares really resonates with me. And so I feel like we connected, like our first connection on BookTube was through poetry. And we don't always read the same things, and we don't always enjoy the same things or see the same things, but our love of poetry is pretty like even Steven. We are pretty like on the same page. Like she's a mirror to my love of poetry for sure. Next, Angelia at Read and Reread. Angelia is a mirror to me because there are very few people who love short stories as much as I do, and Angelia has created the kinds of short story reading activities that I would only hope to have time to create and do. So I'm really happy to try to participate in like the 30 and 30 short stories in 30 days. I failed again. I did not keep up, but I'm still going to read as many as I can within the month. But like she challenges me in that way, but I love it. And um, she put out a video today that was like short story collection to take to your deserted island, and I loved that video so much. It was brilliant. So that love of short stories really mirrors my own love of short stories. And we both live in South Texas, so we're always mirroring each other when we talk about the weather on our channels. Like she and I are always like pretty frequently mentioning the weather. I had to like just force myself to stop giving a weather report every time I did a weekend review video because it was pretty constant for a while there. And so she and I kind of have these like side conversations through our videos about the weather because we live within like 2 hours of each other. Um, and so I feel like we experience the same weather patterns, and that is a mirror every single time we mention the weather or the AC. Yeah. um, Farah at Nostalgic, she's a mirror in the sense that she and I share a love of nature and nature writing. Um, yeah, I think she and I think I've told her this before, but I think she might be the closest to a book twin that I've been able to find on BookTube. We read very widely. We like the same kinds of books. We both work in healthcare, and we both really enjoy the natural world. So there's a lot of intersection with Farah at Bookstalgic. So she does seem to mirror my own reading life. And sometimes I feel like we are sharing a TBR, except mine has a lot more Latine lit. But aside from the Latine lit, other than Latine literature, I think we pretty much share a TBR. Next, Jack at Spreadbook Joy. So Jack and I have connected only recently, but I love Jack's just down to earth, very joyful presence, and that's the kind of booktuber I want to be. Like I want to be down to earth, and I want to be joyful, and I want to be authentic, and I think she reflects that right back to me. And so I feel like she's someone that I look up to, and I would like to be more like. And so I admire Jack from Spread Book Joy, and just how brilliant and authentic and down to earth and joyful she is. So yeah, she's a mirror for me. Charlie from Charlie Brooke Reads. Charlie and I also connected through poetry, and so I feel like she's a mirror in the way she reads, but I think she's also a mirror in the way she's a friend, and she's a great friend. And I mean, I hear Emily talk about her as a sister, and I think she's a fabulous sister, and so I think she kind of is like the friend and the sibling, the sister that I hope to be, want to be. So I find her to be a mirror just in the way she loves and cares for others. That is like what shines through from her channel. So I like that. I like that light that she carries, and so I feel like that's a mirror to my soul and to kind of how I want to live in the world. So she reflects that back to me. Angela from Angela's Bookcase. Angela, I feel like sometimes we're on the same wavelength. Like one time she posted a video about books on grief, and I was thinking about that same thing. So when her video popped up, it was like she was reading my mind because she had just posted it, and I had just been thinking, I need to write a list of the books that are helping me get through this grief, and maybe I can do a video. And then she did this, and I was like, yes, you did it. Perfect. Let me see what books you recommend, and then how like her list and my list will vary. I'm still working on mine, but sometimes we're kind of fighting this wave of interest and how we're reading. I think she's done some videos about reading slowly, and that tends to be my like MO. Like that's how I want to read, is trying to take my time and read slowly and validate that for myself. And when I find myself like needing that validation, she reflects it right back. And it's like the timing of her videos are like perfect to where I'm at, what I'm thinking about in my own reading life. So she's a mirror for that reason. Amelali's journal. So Amelali is Mexican booktuber, and she posts about journaling and reading journals, and some of her content has been really inspiring, and we share some interests. There is some overlap in what we read or how we journal. So she is a mirror to me in my journaling goals, and she definitely someone who gives me lots of ideas and things to think about in regards to journaling. Kimya's Book Nook. So Kimya is known for like talking about books, plants, art, and architecture, and all of those things really speak to me. So I found Kimya recently. She has had a few videos about Latinx literature, so she reflects that right back to me, and so I feel like our interests connect and intersect and mirror each other. So I really have enjoyed the videos that I've seen on her channel. Jackie at the Reading Wordsmith. So I just connected with Jackie very recently through August, and I think we both read very widely, and we both kind of like very similar books. We share some interests, definitely in terms of young adult literature. So yeah, Jackie's a new friend here on BookTube, but I'm really happy that I've connected with her, and she's someone that I think mirrors back some of my own interests. And lastly, mirror, I have Elena from Latina Literati. Elena is someone I've also found recently. She's Latina like me, and I love her videos, and she's a cultural mirror to me. We read the same books. I think we recommend the same books. I think we both share a love of Mexican history. I am wearing my Mexican shirt for this day de septiembre. I wear this all the time, but I'm especially wearing it today for the Day of Independence. And so, yeah, I feel like she mirrors that to me, the pride of being Mexicana, and I just really see myself in her content on BookTube. Okay, prompt number 3, books that serve as windows, and I've also just put authors as a whole. So Toni Morrison, to me, her books serve as windows. Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. That book, definitely, especially that book, serves as a window for me. Angeline Boulley, The Firekeeper's Daughter. That was a really interesting book. It's young adult, and it really opened up my eyes to um, a community of a First Nations community, Ojibwe, I think it is. I was trying to think of the name. I think it's Ojibwe. And yeah, I think that book, definitely that book particularly serves as a mirror, and it's one of my favorite books of all time. Margaret Atwood and The Handmaid's Tale. Sometimes that book just, I I want to reread it, but not right now. But I think about that book all the time, and it definitely serves as like a mirror and a precaution, like a cautionary tale. So that's on my mind quite a bit. Ken Liu, his short stories serve as windows to me, and I love them. Octavia Butler is also someone whose short stories, particularly, are like windows. Emily St. John Mandel creates stories that are windows to me. Mia Pimentel, I have her book right here. Arsenic and Adobo. This book is not for everybody. It's a cozy mystery. It is wonderful for me. I loved it. But this book serves as a mirror because it is a Filipino family, and you feel like I felt when I was reading this book like I could see and hear these characters, like their voices. And the food in the back, I mentioned the recipes. I've tried them. They're so good. So this book is a big window into Filipino food. And I'm always going to the Filipino store because telling them like I'm doing a recipe that I read about in Mia Pimentel's book. Hilary Lecter, she's one of my favorite authors, and her books are definitely windows. Yeah, Jesse. Both Homegoing and Transcendent Kingdom have been amazing books. I love Transcendent Kingdom a bit more than Homegoing, but both are great windows. Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. This is one of my favorite windows. There's so many little vignettes and like a ton of windows in this little book. And that's it. Okay, prompt number 4 is to mention booktubers that serve as, or book channels that serve as windows. I'm going to go through this one a little bit more quickly. Gina, Library Mouse Gina. A window into loving books, libraries, and cats. Dr. Cranky Pants reads. A window to just fun and imagination and all the wonderful middle grade. My friend Mimi at the channel, it's Mimi Duong. Mimi has opened a window into reading manga and manhwa and a lot more like romance and some fantasy that has been new to me. So Mimi has put some books on my radar that I would have never heard of otherwise, or like didn't know about. Ellen from the channel Ellen Made Book Club. Ellen is a beautiful window. Ellen is like a window into the most beautiful, cozy, loving landscape. I just love her videos and her channel and her vibe and her friendship. Everything about her is just a beautiful window. MJ at Reading This Life. MJ has been a window into all things booktube, horror, creativity. She's been an inspiration. Katja and Ross both have been windows into just reading more books in translation and kind of discovering new books and authors. And I've only been able to do a couple of the books from their book club this year, but I'm following that book club. Carl from Please Read Your Book. I also feel like he's a window into a lot of different things. Mark at Book Time with Elvis is a window. I love Mark's Bohemian letters, or letters from a Bohemian. Those videos especially feel like windows into a different world and just a beautiful soul. Flossie at the Grape Jelly Library is a window for me. Emily at Novel Novels is also a really, really sweet window to look through. Book Buds, they are a window into just friendship and fun. Sean from Sean Holt and Sandy from Miss Reads, they are windows because they are also doing the 1000 books to read before you die, different lists, each one of them. I am doing the same list that Sean is doing, and I love like their windows into how to be more consistent with the 1000 books to read before you die list. I am not as consistent as they are, but I enjoy looking through those windows from time to time. Gina Stanier from Gina Stanier Reads. She is the reason why I'm on BookTube, and Gina is my window into all things cozy and lovely and sweet, and comfortable. Lucinda from Lucinda Entre Libros. I've discovered Lucinda's channel recently, and we have some things in common, but I think like her videos are a window into maybe aspirational window for me in terms of journaling and reading and being on BookTube. Evita from Evita Lecturitas. I really love Evita, and follow her Patreon, and I love her channel, and it's a window also into a lot of it. Sometimes I feel like I get a lot of specifically like Spanish from Spain book recommendations from Evita, so she's a window into that whole thing. Is Isabel from Isabel Reads. She's been someone I've discovered recently, and she's also a window into a lot of different genres. She also reads very widely, and I'm still interacting with her channel and getting to know her channel some, but she's been a really fun window to look through. My friend Marilyn Maya, the channel Marilyn Maya Mendoza, she's just a really amazing window to look through. We don't always read the same, but I feel like we have a lot of things in common, and we have a lot of shared interests, and I find that her channel is a window that is really fun to look through. Sue Jackson. Sue travels, and I think she does kind of like a lot of like travel vlogging, and she's a window in that regard, and she also reads very widely, so I always feel like I get some great recommendations from Sue. And lastly, I have the Melodramatic Bookworm. I really enjoy, and one thing that the Melodramatic Bookworm has in common with Dr. Cranky Pants Reads is that their shorts are amazing. So they're a window into the art of doing a good short. So those are my windows. And tag, if I mentioned your channel, you're tagged. And sorry for those of you that Pat also mentioned you. Sorry, not sorry, you're tagged again. Thank you so much for watching. Hasta la próxima.